I remember when I was first talking about additive manufacturing, and this goes to your point about engineering courage. Very first seminar, very first conference I ever attended that I talked about additive manufacturing back in 2015. And I did not know the program manager for MRAPs. And for our listeners who may not know what MRAPs are, they're the up armored vehicles that the military used to counter IEDs, to protect soldiers and Marines from IEDs.
Mhm.
And eventually every nation was employing them in combat zones. Um, you know, the PM was there and he was saying he felt angry when I talked about soldiers, or Marines repairing these in the field or using additive manufacturing to do these repairs. And then he went through the phases of mourning, I think. And then, then he kind of became resigned to the fact that he's not going to stop this lieutenant colonel from saying what he's going to say. And then finally, then he's like, he had an epiphany, he had acceptance of it. And he came up to me afterwards and he said, listen, every single MRAP. He's like, I was angry, but every single MRAP that came back from Iraq, this was during he's talking mostly around Iraq and then a little bit of Afghanistan at the time. He said, every single one that came back had modifications done to it. Every single one. And sometimes they were good and sometimes they weren't. They were never uniform, right? And
Mhm.
he said, I see additive as a potentially great promise because the power of additive, because of the sharing, because of Dave's point about the data and Darren's point about the data, is that if once we find a good design, a great repair made in the field, then we can share it across the services and share it across the nation.